All right, hello everybody. So I am excited to jump into the next phase of doing some corrections on this piece and to show you how I would approach it. I did post this image that I made through the app Fused. It's a classic kind of photo overlay situation here where it's taking two photos and I'm able to control the saturation of the image. Well, maybe it's not the saturation, it's the opacity of one image over the other. And here I'm able to see the difference between the photograph and my painting. And this is especially helpful when I'm working from a specific photograph. If I'm working from life, that's a totally different situation. Though I do take photos when I'm working from life of the sitter and will work primarily from one of them and use multiple ones depending on expression. So in this piece, you can see the original photograph is her eyebrow is here. And in my painting, the eyebrow is up here. You can see the eyes, the original photograph, the eyes are lower. In my painting, the eyes are higher. And what I did is I lined it up so that the majority of the piece that I had created as well as the photograph were in sync, which I found to be the nose, mouth, and chin. So these proportions were really quite right on. If I lined up the original photo with my painting at the eyes, then I would have to adjust the nose and the mouth and the chin. More work. I'd rather adjust the eyes, which means I also have to adjust the head, but I obviously went a little bit extra overboard there, so I could shave that down a little bit in my edit on the painting. And this is the time that I would do this, after the first glaze. After the first glaze, I've taken away the white, and now I sink back into the drawing. And this is something that I've kind of developed as a rhythm and as a way of using the Mish technique to continuously revise and iterate the work, right? So I didn't spend a lot of time on this initial piece. I haven't touched it since we had our first session together, and I'm ready to take it to the next level though. So even if I didn't have this and I just had the photograph, I would revisit it in the same way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some charcoal, my charcoal pencil again. I'm going back to the roots, back to the basics. And here I'm going to make some notes. So let's get going here. So one of those notes is that I'm going to lower the eyes. And so my painting is going to look a little funny for a bit. Frida, just hold in there. We're going to get there. But this is, you have to let go of the piece looking amazing all the time. You have to take these kind of steps sometimes to, correct what maybe wasn't totally right the first time. You have to be willing to keep fixing your own line, and you have to be somewhat obsessed with it, actually. See how this eye is actually closer in, too. This eye is closer in, which is moving everything down a little bit, right? So her eye is going to move down. Also, I can see the side of the face here. My piece is further out, where in the photograph, it comes kind of closer in. And then kind of aligns with the jawline that I already had going. And then also the eyebrows. I got a little bit excited there with the eyebrows. And also the eyelids, which I cannot totally see here what is correct, though I have a sense here that my initial line that I had drawn for the eye is going to be perfect for the eyelid, right? It might come over a little bit more, but it's going to be perfect. I can totally use that, which is amazing. That's amazing if I can use that. And so the eyebrow is also going to come down, though, quite significantly. It's sometimes like we exaggerate features. I talked about this before, but I'm sure, you know, we exaggerate features like the eyes all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's something to be said for going to the length of actually really observing how it is and then manipulating it. You know, so this is where I see the value in studying the natural world. And this is what my teachers and, you know, Michael Fuchs, Ernst Fuchs, Hikaru, all of my teachers really pointed me towards studying nature. And, you know, I would be a hypocrite in many ways if I were not to advise that to you. It's like, you know, we can create so many things, and we will, and we are, you know, but let's really expand our perception to a point where we can really lift off. I mean, we have that potential. And I know that we do. And I know that it's possible. And there's no reason why not. You know, it just takes dedication, it takes commitment, it takes curiosity. You know, all of these things are essential to really getting deeper into, you know, what is it that we really want to say? I mean, you have to explore. And I know that the tools is, if you get more refined in your tools, you have more tools in your tool belt, you're just going to have more options when it comes down to you know, making decisions, because that's what it's about. Painting, making art, you're making decisions. And oh gosh, I don't want to lose that ear like that light. Remember that special little light there? But I think we might have to let it go. And my ear was a little bit lower. I think that her ear is actually a little bit higher. Her ear's smaller than the way I had painted it. But see, I'm going to check the actual photograph again too. This is somewhat deceiving. See, I feel like with the nose, to be honest, I feel like her ear does come down a little bit further. So I'm not going to totally trust the photograph. I'm not. But I'm definitely going to use the mock-up here. I'm going to use this mock-up. And this is a time where I could add the earring if I wanted to. This is a great time to add anything, you know, in your drawing. Like what else is missing in the drawing that you want to add to it? And you do not need to stay true to the photograph completely. I've seen some of your posts, and I apologize for not seeing all of them, because today I woke up and literally we had a internet and phone service blackout. And so I apologize for not being able to repost some of your posts of your progress, and I have yet to catch up to as well in the Facebook group, but I very much look forward to it. And look, her neck here is too wide. Did you see that right there? Her neck is too wide. Her neck starts where, see where her lip comes together is also too wide. See, my painting is the purple. See, it's very helpful here. See, the lip comes in is shorter. Maybe not that short, but it's definitely shorter. And the neck comes in a significant amount. So, but this is also an exercise in training your eyes. See, it would be, of course, it would be easier if I said, okay, go print it out, and then let's trace it on the panel. Of course, it's going to look more like her, right? But that is not the point of this exercise. I am wanting to encourage you, push you to train your eyes a little bit more, to see, to correct also your own mistakes, right? So this is really what it's about, correcting your own mistakes. Okay, so now I have done some notes here that are quite significant. And I can kind of connect that. I'm back with the charcoal. And here I can then, let's look and see the original. And let's look and see where the ear comes is like in between where the nose, see the nose and the mouth. So the ear is down here. See, I don't want to trust that because I feel like something was off. And her ear just kind of kisses the edge of where her hairline is. So that's probably true. And this coming out. Okay. So next thing that I'm going to do is I'm using my Stay Wet palette. I know this wasn't on the materials list in the beginning, and I deeply apologize. But for those of you that are acrylic painters and are going to continue to paint in acrylic, check this out. So this it's got all kinds of paint on it, but it still works. This is a sponge. This palette comes like this. You get it wet. This is wet, and this is a special kind of paper that goes on it. And when you put your acrylic, just put a little bit of your nice acrylic on it. And then when you're done for the evening, you can or the day, whatever, you put your top on, and you can come back to your paint later, and it's still just perfect. It's not dried up like acrylic does, right? So you can work much longer just during your session as well. The actual paint that you're mixing is going to stay active and wet longer. And so what I'm going to use now, I'm going to use the two colors that I really started out with. The first color, if you remember, after my charcoal, was the dioxazine purple that you can barely read here, right? Sorry. The dioxazine purple. I just need a little tiny dollop of that because it's so powerful. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this red oxide, which I know you can't read either. Just use the two colors that you used in the beginning, right? You use those same two colors. The red oxide is the red that I painted over the piece. So those two colors are going to mix together to create the darks that I want to create to kind of mimic, right? The darks that I already have here, so that it stays really in harmony with the piece, okay? And so I'm going to use a nice round brush to start with, just like I did with when I initially painted in my charcoal lines. So I'm really like starting over again here. This is my second round that I'm dipping into this piece. I've completed the cycle of going into the darks, the drawing, and then the imprimatura, taking away the light, bringing back the light, the underpainting, and then glazing it. And I glazed in yellow and I glazed in blue. Now that color is taking me back into the depths, back into the drawing. So here we go. I always dip my brush in water first. And I'm going to mix a little bit of this red, which is pretty opaque, with some of this purple. Powerful colors, right? Oh, this purple is just out of this world. So, but I need to tone it down because it's a little bit too much. So I'm making kind of like a mix, and I'm gonna see how that works on the canvas. But what I want is not to create something that's gonna look totally alien of what I already have here. So I call this surgery, right? We're doing some plastic surgery here. We're moving dear Frida, her eyes down a little bit. So let's see here. Should I go back to the other image, or should I really just look at her eyes now? Because now I have the setting, right? I have the proportions. So I think I'm just gonna observe her eyes and just kind of keep going with the notes that I've already taken from the fused. That seems to be a good idea. And this isn't the last round either. We can keep coming back to this over and over again. That's the beauty. That's one of the just incredible beauties of this method, is that you can keep coming back and exploring this, your proportions, your subtleties. There's something strange about it, and there's not one formula. I know so many of you are so curious about this method, and the thing is that it is a curious method, and it is something that lends itself so well to exploring. I think that's why it has me captivated all this time, continued, because I just keep learning more. And I deeply realize that there is no end, and I realized that actually pretty early on too. I realized that there was no end to this exploration after working, for so many hours with some really incredible artists. And one of them being Michael Fuchs, which I am so excited to be, that he's going to be joining us. And then also his father, Ernst Fuchs. So many hours of exploring and questioning, often to myself, why is he doing that now? What is going on here? So, I just thinned, what I did is, I know you can't see my brush and my palette, but I just thinned the paint down with some water and dabbed it off on the brush to create this lighter tone, which is almost too much. You don't want to use your fingers too much. It's a bad habit, but obviously I do it too. So there we go. And I'm going to ignore the charcoal that's around it that I don't want. I'm going to ignore anything else that I don't, that's annoying me right now, because I'm not working with any lights. I'm only seeing the darks, and I'm seeing what I need to adjust. Right, and so, okay, I'm gonna get some more paint in my brush, and I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna bring in the eyebrows a little bit more accurate. I'm gonna come back with a white to kind of fix where I was not accurate before. And here I can be even a little bit more sensitive this time, right? can be a little bit more sensitive. I can explore a little bit more and see how I'm purposefully not going too dark in this area. Remember what I said too about photographs and the darks in photographs. Like if you totally copy a photograph in a painting, that's precisely what it's going to be. A painting from a photograph. And to create a painting that is really original, there's a little bit more that you have to do. You know, you got to go a little bit deeper. You got to do some more explorations of like, you know, capturing something else. And that's the possibility of the painting rather than the photograph. So, all right, let's go to the next eye, because this is a significant surgery here. And see how the charcoal will just mix right in. And remember, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but it's going to be a little bit better. Look at the shape of the eye even. See, and this is perfect. The eyelid is almost perfect. Wow, as the top of the eye before. So something very interesting to observe. And as I have, you know, that, you know, paint in my brush of, you know, I just keep going. What am I saying? And, you know, I can come back in and lighten it up again, but I'm not concerned about lightening it up right now, because all I have on my brush is the dark, so I just keep following that dark. And here it comes around, and that what's so, you know, you will start to trust the process more once you have done it more. And I know some of you can really attest to that because you have done it more. And you guys that are doing this for the first time, you know, check out this class. Like, look at the people that are in this class. There's some amazing artists in this class, and quite a few amazing artists that have done this before. So you ask yourself, well, why are they here again? You know, because it's constantly, it's a process that is constantly offering more. You know, there's more to learn. And I would say that with every person's iteration and their way of discovering, and, you know, you learn more. So remember, you're going to learn just as much from your colleagues in this journey than you are from me, if not even more, you know. But this is the setting, you know, we've made this calling to come together. And so now we're gonna explore. So I really am very excited for your journey and for us to continue to explore together. So don't be shy asking questions, and also don't be shy in answering questions to each other and exploring that, because that's where we also really integrate. We integrate by also sharing with others and questioning. You're like, well, actually, I actually don't know. What is it? What is it? Is it this or is it that? You know, and putting that out there, as you know, in a broader sense, we're all going to work at answering that. Especially for those of you that were a part of Transformation 2020, you know, I think that you're back in a sense because you're like ready to go deeper, right? And your exploration and interest in going deeper is going to be fascinating, not just for those that were there, but for everyone that's new. So this is something that I've observed over the years of teaching, of how like the classes almost quantifiably just keep getting better, or at least like the work that is coming out of the classes. And most of the time they have been just a week long, right? And look at us, we're going to go for a full month. And of course it's not every day, but there is a chance to really go pretty deep here. And I'm ready for it. I mean, doing this is something that I definitely didn't do in transformation, but we're learning here from your feedback, and I am totally interested in continuing to grow my skills and awareness and put myself out on the limb even more to deepen this exploration together. Those lips, huh? Wow. Let's see. Yeah. All right, kind of deep. You know, when the acrylic, it is rough when acrylic dries so fast. If you're not used to working with acrylic, it can be such a challenge because it dries so fast. But that's one of the things that I have loved about acrylic too, and why I will why I do use acrylic and have embraced it so much, especially through live painting. And it has so much to do with how fast it dries. Gosh, she has this cute little chin, right? And it's so subtle, little cleft. Ugh. So those kinds of subtleties, if you go too far, that's okay, because you're going to come back with the white. Remember that. And her chin. So her face here, you know, I did not put in her other earring or her ear before. Maybe because this earring is coming in, I might as well, right? And here I can just sketch it in. Let's just sketch it in with the brush and not with the charcoal. Because I'm not gonna just, you know, here I'm at it right now. Why would I stop and switch? You know, and this is the kind of thing that you just learn over time to just kind of trust yourself more and more. And this is where it's the practice of just like having the brush in your hand and knowing that you can't go wrong, right? It's just your judgment. It's just your insecurities. It's okay. It's okay. It's real. And here we're just gonna, you know, you're gonna gain more confidence over time. And okay, so we'll just add, we're getting close. Can add a few more little details. And it looks weird, right, at this phase. The portrait looks a little weird. And some of the, like in the photograph, you can't even see the hair over here. It's just dark. So maybe you want to make something up. You know, as you keep going, you're going to make things up. It's natural, and let it be yours. You know, like don't try to totally be true to the photograph, though that's what the atelier painting is about. You know, I think it's good training. I'm going to say that. You know, I really do think it's a fantastic training to learn to paint as something is completely from life. It's fantastic training. You just have to be careful that it doesn't take you over, so you can't really use your imagination trust your imagination, explore your imagination, you know. I mean, that's the one danger, I would say. Gosh, her ear just seems so much more. I'm gonna explore that ear a lot more when I get into the white again. But I'm doing my due diligence, as it seems, as I revisit the piece, revisit the image. You know, and this process of the Mish technique is so much about iteration and exploring it one step at a time. So if you are obsessed with instant gratification, you might become really attached to your underpainting at times. You may get really frustrated at other times. And we're going to go through all of that together. And that's part of the ride, you know. And, having a community to support you through it is the best. If you had to have a cry after this session or even during it, I'm just going to say that is a natural thing, very natural reaction to have with making art at times, because it is so revealing and so frustrating sometimes. So these are bold moves, and but I feel confident that it's the right move because of my sketch already and looking at it through that app, the Fused app. You know, I gotta say that I don't even use that kind of the Fused app that often, though I should more. And I got a shout out to Joe Bob, who has really helped me in the past and was the one that showed me that app. Like, look, you could do this. And, really correct some things without having to break your head about it. I just learned, I learned to paint in a way that was just very, classical, and I was not looking to other things for reference. I was using like Photoshop. I wasn't using other programs to really check myself. And I think that there's something very, very valuable in doing that. And we're going to really explore that actually on Saturday when we do the self-portrait. We're going to be using primarily a mirror. So if you don't have a mirror to work from, ideally you have a handheld mirror and you watch that little video that's on the materials site. Then we'll dive into that study of what we see when we look in the mirror. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of take out some of this charcoal. That's important. See, this is dry up here, so I can do that. I'm gonna put down a little bit more in some darks down in this part of the shawl, just because I know I'm gonna want it, right? So why not just do it now, right? Because I'm in that view. So I'm gonna just kind of cover up here. Oh my goodness, I hear the shadow kitty. She is meowing out there. I think she's just gonna have to wait because we are in the midst of it. She will wait. she knows. All right, so there's just a little bit more of this kind of dark in here. And perfect timing, we're gonna move now into the whites. Oh, but first, see, as soon as I say that, I see something else. I'm gonna jump into the hair and put in some more darks right up in here, because that definitely wants to be there. Oh, Shadow Kitty, come on over. She likes to sit behind me when I paint. And she'll make her way over. So we're just gonna add a little bit more darks right in here. And here, the cute little bow she has up on her head. Come on, Shadow. Come on. She's a real talker. That's how she got us. And it was Simone Young, who was in our class. Come on, Shadow. So she'll sit right behind me. Who was like, Amanda, she was here because when we did Mixed Tech Mystics here at South Main, did we do it 2 or 3 different times? I think we did it twice so far. We're gonna do it more. And you all are invited. It's gonna be so fun when we can paint together in person too. But we had this kitty that just showed up like right before the workshop started, and she was a very meowy kitty, and I was a little nervous. I was like, what is this cat? Who is this cat? Where did she come from? We didn't know anything about her history. You know, I thought maybe she was a neighborhood cat, but she really seemed to stick around. And she was a small gray cat, kind of skinny. See, I'm just really thinning down the paint here. And so we were like, well, all right. It was Joe Bob who fed her some sardines. And I was like, uh-oh, here we go. We might have a cat. And so she stuck around. And then we found out her name was really Shadow. And so look at where I'm going. I'm like taking the shadow too far. Go figure. But guess what? I can come back and bring in the light. That's great. All right, I'm totally going with it here. And see, I have this lens where I'm like looking at the darks, and I'm just like, before I go into the light, what else do I need to get darker? And I'm just going for it over here. And I'm just thinning down the paint. You know, I'm really thinning down the paint and just covering those spaces that seem like they just, you know, they're in more shadow. God, cats just have that sense, huh? Okay, so, and this shadow seems a little bit dark, but, I mean, for her to like come over just now when I'm working on this part, it just seems too perfect. And see how her neck, like I don't actually have enough of her neck to really study. Well, there's actually more of the real photograph. I just have to go look for it. But maybe I'll just paint a little bit more in here. Can't see much of my original texture that I kind of did those little dots. And if there's too much water on your brush, you just gotta like dab off your brush and come back and, all right. So, okay, good enough. I'm going to rinse out my brush straight away. Both your brushes, clean it up, get rid of get the paint out of the brush completely. You know, this is not something to put off, especially with acrylics. And now for this paint, actually, I'm going to close up my Stay Wet palette right now. I'm going to keep those paints for later. I am going to dump this paint that's now from my darks in my dirty water. And I'm going to clean out, I'm just going to get some clean water, actually. I don't need to clean it out. Because now I'm going to move into my whites. And I want to make sure that this is dried before. You know, I know many of you are accustomed to working with the light and the dark at the same time. That's a method. It's a way. So I'm not saying that that's bad or that's wrong. I'm just suggesting you try something else. It's a little bit different. And it's something that it's a way that I've developed my relationship also with the Mish technique. And I find it to be just really a successful sequence. So I finished my darks for now. Not completely, I'll come back to them again, but I'm gonna move now into the whites. And so I have some titanium white. And I'm going to attempt to open this. Gosh, just put on a little dollop. And so I'm going to start back into kind of the eyes where I began, and I'm going to just kind of fix some of those areas where it looks really obviously off. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start first. That seems logical. And I'm going to start with my little round brush, and I'm going to go right in here to this eye. And I see this eyelid needs definite, it needs some light. And so, of course, this cold white now is going to look very alien. But just wait, because we're going to have it everywhere again. But we're not going to do exactly what we did before, because it's also impossible to do that. So don't even try. What I want you to do, and what you should be focused on, is continuing to perfect your drawing and explore. And what you're going to see is what happens here in your second underpainting is you're going to see more colors. You're going to your drawing is going to become, your painting is going to become more alive. And yeah, you'll get it once you do it, right? Look at that little light right there. Maybe it was actually not in the right spot. That's okay. And look, this light right here, that is actually on her eyelid, right? This is her eyelid, not the white of her eye. The white of her eye is actually not that white there. But I just put a little tiny bit right over the dark that was there before. See, and I'm just kind of doing surgery. You can't even see the other eye anymore, right? It's not even there. And so this is, I think, one of the things that's very different to many people with this method is that you're not using the light and the dark at the same time. And I think it's just not necessary. And if you're working in oils, it makes much more sense to do it this way, because you would do your corrections in oil, the darks, and then you would move into your egg tempera or casein with your whites, and then you would glaze then with oil. And you need your oil to be somewhat dry. You need it to be dry before you can glaze another color so it doesn't mix with it, right? So therefore you want to wait, you want to do your oil first and let that start drying, and then start to go into your casein or egg tempera. And I've just found in acrylic, see, of course you have the freedom to go back and forth, but it kind of helps me finish one thing at a time, you know, and kind of like have this completion in a way. And I shift my gaze through now, you know, looking more into the light than going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Right, so that's my reasoning, which of course, you know, you're not gonna continue. Everybody is gonna paint the way they feel inclined to paint, and that's good. It's just how I've discovered is in an interesting and efficient way. And of course, look, I'm gonna bring back the light and the whites, and some things I'm gonna paint again, completely. And that's okay, you know, but I'm gonna continue to find things that I, you know, didn't really do before, or I want to accentuate again. There's that lip, right? Gosh, her lips are so iconic, I think. I mean, it's like, what is it out of a person, out of a personality that really makes them them? That's a big one, right? As a portrait artist, you have to find that. And that can be really tricky. And I've definitely not always been successful. And I'm sure many of you can attest to that as well, that it's not always easy. It can be extremely challenging at times to really get the likeness of a person. And it can be even more challenging when you don't have the person to really refer to, like especially if you haven't met the person in 3D reality. It's a different situation. If you have had the chance to meet the person in 3D reality, in full on, maybe not 3D reality, like 4D, 5D, like living life reality, then you have another, you have so many more senses to call on in observing them and observing their, you know, how they are, how do they move, how does their mouth move when they talk, you know? So even like looking at videos, if you have the opportunity to look at videos, if you're gonna paint somebody that's well known, or that you just even have access to videos of them, watch them, you know, study them. There would be a value for sure in your study. And remember, this is a study. Remember, what we're doing here is we are studying, and you might end up with something that is really something that you're stoked on, and you may not at first. And, you know, that's fine. That's totally fine, because, I mean, what you need to be most interested in is the exploration, and where you're gonna have the biggest challenges when you get stuck. Right? That's always the situation when we get stuck. That's our biggest. Whew. So when we get stuck in this situation, though, with a group like this, we let each other know and we help each other out. Right? But it's like, it's scary too, because we don't, you know, we're like, it's the vulnerability, feeling insecure. I feel like art making really gets a lot of people very insecure. And It's understandable. It's tricky territory. We want it to look good. We want to be pleased. And if you're the infinite perfectionist, oh, embrace it. It's a blessing and a curse, right? The infinite perfectionist. So just use it. Actually, if you weren't a perfectionist, you'd probably end up not becoming a very great artist. But you totally, as long as you're hungry enough, you will keep going and you will keep making steps towards, towards what, though, is the big question. I think it's your evolution, your exploration, and that's unique to you. Nobody else has that. And this is something that Joe Bob talks about so fantastically, is like, if you don't give away your gold, it will never be seen. And what a shame. And your gold is your time, and your truth. And it's not, it's not always perfect, but for some reason we think it should be. But just get lost in it. Get lost in it. Get lost in the journey. We'll see where it takes us. And so I'm getting to a point where I'm like, I don't know if I have a whole lot more to do with my little brush, because I'm going to need some bigger brushes here. And remember that white, it does soak in. Look at that little white dot I kind of put. I don't know. And the glare in the eye, it's coming from the same place. I want to make sure it lines up. And you have to keep going over where you want it really white. You need to keep going over those areas, right? And especially if you make a correction, just keep going over it. Blend it, fake it. You gotta fake it. Fake it till you make it. And you gotta be a master in disguise, and disguising also where you messed up. Because you're gonna mess up. It's gonna happen. It happens to me all the time, right? And I'm gonna be like, ugh, that was a bad choice, right? But then that's one of the things that propels me to keep going. Like, I'm already starting to make things up. And that's the thing, is like, don't hold back too. But when you see things where you're like, that just really sucks, you will be propelled to correct it. But you may also have a lot to learn from it. So you'll just be curious. Learn from your work. If I really learned anything with some of the masters I worked with, is that curiosity around the exploration of like, well, what am I actually doing? What really needs to be done? What does the painting have to say? It's all of that. So I think I'm coming up on a good time to take a pause in this video. I think you know where I'm going. Actually, I want to address the background before I disappear, and here I can already start to address it. Okay, so I just need to fake it again, right? Just sneak up on it. Sneak up on what I wanted to kind of hide. And look, I think there is a little bit of an ear sticking out there, but look, I can just let that be there. And the hair comes out here, and then it's gonna take a sharper turn in. All right, so this is how I kind of correct some of those things that weren't initially right. And I'm going to do that over here. And the earring's fun. Just put some little sparks in there. Connection. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And look, this one's more silhouetted. So I'm going to make a silhouette around that earring. This one has a little light on it. And I'm just observing. I'm looking at what is here. A little bit of that light in here, and then it comes down. And I'm constantly comparing, you know, my edges. Where is there a softer edge, a lighter edge? Where is light before dark and dark before light? Right now, this earring here, this part of it is dark before light. And right here is light. Light before dark. And it's something we're going to keep talking about, and don't think that you need to get it right away. Because that's not important. Let yourself be intrigued by the mystery, by the process. Yeah. So, this is obviously, I think, going to take me maybe I feel like this will take me another 30 minutes. But my goal was to keep this at about an hour. And let's see where I am. Oh my God, 3 minutes. 3 minutes till the hour. So let's see. Shall I just go speed painting style? I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do this. Remember this part? I have to paint this in to get myself into a little bit more accurate proportions. See how I'm just making that sharp kind of edge here, right to the head, and then I'm going to blend it out. And here I need a good amount of paint so I can cover up that dark. And I'm going to have to go over it multiple times, but I'm going to trick it out. You never will have, you know, I mean, you guys know, but nobody else will ever know unless somebody does an x-ray someday that her head was actually bigger. Right? And then I can also start to consider what else is happening out here. If you want to get creative, get creative. Paint more. You know, when you get stuck in the face, start working on something else. You know, that's a real key thing to know when to stop, right? When to pull back. And faces sure can be frustrating and can really challenge us. So as you can tell, I'm not too concerned about making those little bows up there perfect. They can be a little bit more exciting. And I'm still going to get into this piece at some point with, I imagine, some more lines and energy. You know, I've never painted Frida before. So this is one of the reasons I wanted to paint her, because I had just not done it yet. And she has been, of course, an artist in the pantheon of great masters. She has been a human being, a woman, an artist that has been inspiring to me as someone that has, been so authentic and so raw in her self-portraiture and her work, She really, to see how her work touches others is so powerful. And so, and of course, that looks a little awkward up there for me. I'm going to come in here with like a bigger brush now, because this bigger brush is going to definitely help help me cover some more ground. I'm just going to come in right here, that bigger brush. I got more paint on both sides. Just use all the paint in my brush and then feather it out. See, there's something really about loading up your brush and then working the subtleties. Loading up your brush, putting it down where you need that loaded brush, and then you start to work the subtleties. See, and there's some action starting to happen out here. That's fine with me. I'm gonna come back in here. This definitely needs more. Because when you make corrections, you have to go over it multiple times to actually really make those corrections disappear. And with the Mish technique, you're working in layers, and things don't always go as planned, and so you use that to your advantage. You just keep exploring. And here we go. Something's happening here. I'm want to get a little bit more outside of the smoothness. And wait until we get into decalcomania. That's going to get exciting, because that's when we get some textures in there. And start working with textures, but you can also just start working textures with the brush too. It's like, oh, it's not so smooth anymore? Well, then start mixing it up. Don't get so stuck on the smoothness. That's an aspect of the personality that wants it to be perfect and smooth. And I want to challenge you to break that up. Just try it. We'll get back to the smoothness again. But don't be afraid to break it up. Remember, this is a practice panel. Practice panel. So, this, I'll continue to explore this a little bit more out here. Maybe I should do a little bit more in the face just to show you how I would bring the whites up a little bit more. So obviously up here in the forehead, this has been bugging me because I went a little bit dark up there, right? But this all needs optical gray again, which means a full wash of the white. And it's gonna need some more, even more. But this over here, like that yellow, it's kind of too much, right? That was extreme. That was an extreme choice. But sometimes those extreme choices work really well in the long run, because they're kind of underneath now. But you got to experiment with that. Like, what is it that's the best glaze for you? I mean, I don't know, to be honest. Oh, look at this. Ooh. This light that's over here. It's so subtle, but this is this little reflective light. And that chin line is too heavy. See, is it too strong of a line? So I need to go over it with light. That's how I get rid of it. And then I'll come back with color to kind of like even it out. Sometimes the shadows are just too strong. so you can lighten it up. Maybe just a little bit more white. This is kind of bugging me too. A little bit more white, and then I think we're good. Okay, I'm going straight into the white. I'm not even like thinning it down because I'm feeling confident, and I know I gotta tone down this yellow up here. Yes. And there'll be like areas that you'll come back to over and over again in a piece. And it'll annoy the heck out of you. You're like, why can't I get that? You know? You'll just keep exploring. Just be, you know, just keep being a student of your painting. Let it teach you. And listen to it, because it will tell you when you've, you know, it doesn't lie. The painting won't lie. At least I don't think so. I haven't experienced it. Oh, I just lie. Or who I think I am lies. Sometimes. Oop. Okay, a little bit more white here. Look at me, I'm just trying to move so fast now. But it's nice to have you guys all watching, because then I will really move fast. And I still have a chance to come back. Remember that. I can come back and continue to refine in the next round, because these rounds can go on and on. Well, something's definitely working more. I feel like it's looking more like her. Changing the eyes definitely helped. And some of the subtleties in the forehead here. There's a lot going on. That's where studying the skull is going to help. You know? Mm-hmm. So, look forward to seeing you all on our next session, and hope this was helpful. Hope this guides you a little bit more into the next phase. And, you know, what's next after this? Well, that's going to be another session. But I will continue working this and, you know, using this as an example to kind of help you jump ahead, to support you in planning, and maybe just relaxing a little bit, understanding the process a bit more, experimenting. So much more to unpack. Oh, look at this little reflective light. I just can't help it when I put it on there. See the different color that comes out when I put in a little optical gray? Very dry brush right now. It's kind of nice. All right. Peace out, folks. See you soon. Don't forget to wash out your brushes. See you soon. Bye.